After over 15 long years, King of the Hill has finally returned. King of the Hill is one of my all-time favorite shows. I've seen the entire series from start to finish 4 separate times. The show has aged like a fine wine, but as we have seen in the past, rebooting a long-gone series can have a negative impact on the IP as a whole. I'm looking at you, Futurama. I am cautiously optimistic that King of the Hill won't fall into the same trap that Futurama did. Much has changed over the last 15 years though, inside and outside of the show. Outside of Arlen, a handful of the original show's voice actors have tragically passed away. And inside the show, we have a huge 9-year time skip, largely affecting almost every character. Bobby, Joseph, and Connie are all fully grown, leading their own lives. Hank and Peggy are moving back to Arlen from Saudi Arabia before settling into their retirement era. Bill is still fat. Today I'm going to take a look at how the past 9 years have reshaped Arlen. We're also going to be watching and ranking each and every episode from the King of the Hill reboot. I am super excited to be diving back into King of the Hill after all these years. There will absolutely be spoilers for the reboot, so if you haven't seen it yet, you have been warned. Alright, enough foreplay. Before you finish up using the toilet, let's get into the main event. Sorry that this video is a week late. I went on a vacation with my family, and here's a cool picture from that trip. If you want to see more content like this, then please be sure to subscribe, because number go up helps my brain send happy signals. We also have a Discord, and that link is below. Come help us count to 1 million, one chat message at a time. Also, make sure to like the video as well, so I can please the almighty YouTube algorithm. As always, shout out to our channel members and Patreons. I truly appreciate your support. Let's get into it for realsies this time. We're kicking things off with one of the best episode names in TV history, Return of the King. King of the Hill took a way different route than South Park did. They released their entire season all at once. And since the new season dropped at midnight Eastern time, many diehard fans stayed up all night to binge the series. If they didn't call in sick the next day at work, it was likely a long one. We open up with Hank Hill struggling to take an airplane pee due to his narrow urethra. A nice callback. This toilet view of Hank is pretty funny. Peggy and Hank have landed back in Texas after living in Saudi Arabia. Hank is struggling to adapt to the modernistic changes of the last 10 years. A lot of callbacks to the past 13 seasons in these first few scenes. The animation style does take some getting used to. We cut to Bobby at work as a chef at a Japanese fusion restaurant. The Lyft driver giving Hank a 2-star rating here was a really funny clip.
I'm gonna give you a 4. That way it gives you something to work towards.
Hank returning to the alley for the first time and seeing Boomhauer is really iconic. Boomhauer's girlfriend has a kid that he is helping raise, and his name's Luke. Nancy and John Redcorn are starting a real estate YouTube channel, it seems. The comments are about as unhinged as you can expect on YouTube. I'm looking at you guys. They really faked me out with this scene though. I thought Nancy and John Redcorn were officially a couple. Bobby is invited to a college party, and he's cooking. Wait, literally, he is cooking and serving this girl who seems to be into him. I am 12 minutes into the reboot, and sweet innocent Bobby is getting freaky with a random college gal. While he is doing the deed, he accidentally butt dials Peggy, who happens to answer. After Bobby's wild one-night stand, he runs into Connie. Connie was apparently also having a one-night stand. A wild place for a rainy street reunion. Bill starts calling Hank from the window, and the years have not been kind to Bill. His house is a mess, and he hasn't left his bed since 2020. Man has done a complete run through Netflix.
I finished Netflix, Hank. Yeah. Did you know that when you get to the end of Netflix, you get something called a wellness check?
It's sad to see Bill like this, and I'm really surprised that he's even still alive. Turns out Dale's been hiding in the trash can the whole time. Dale was the former mayor of Arlen, winning with just 9% of the votes. I don't know if it's just me, but Dale's voice sounds really off.
With a field of 11 candidates to split the vote, I won with a simple plurality of 9%.
The Hills were living a luxurious life in Saudi Arabia. They lived in a gated community provided by Hank's employer, fully equipped with servants. Aside from missing Bobby, I really don't know why they came back. Hank is offered another job back to Saudi Arabia, but seeing how downhill Arlen has gone since they left, he is conflicted on leaving again. Hank is starting to show some acceptance to change when some Girl Scouts tell him that Samoas have been renamed to Caramel Delights, and Bobby finally made it over for a visit. The smell of the grill brings Bill out, and this episode ends with Brian making a good joke.
Y'all realize he's butt naked under that shirt, right?
Yep.
I haven't mentioned him yet, but Brian is the one who house sat while the Hills were in Saudi Arabia. This episode was solid. It mainly sets up the rest of the season, and gives some backstory on everybody after 9 years away. A few funny bits in the episode that weren't spoiled from the trailer. The animation and Dale's voice are going to take some getting used to, but I enjoyed it. Top of the ranking for now. Episode 2 of the season is titled The Beer Story. This one was teased pretty heavily in the trailer and currently has the worst rating on IMDb. We finally open up with that iconic intro song, a much needed trip down memory lane. Hank is retired, and he is very evidently bored with nothing to do. Peggy getting the Spanish of the TV show wrong while subtitles on is hilarious.
Hank, what he just said is, next time, he is going to kill their whole family.
Peggy, it's subtitled. He's wishing those orphans Merry Christmas.
Hank finds a home brewing starter kit. Peggy wants Bobby to help Hank with his beer brewing. Bobby surprisingly has a lot of knowledge on the subject despite just turning 21. Bobby and Hank are disagreeing with how they should make the beer. The old guys in the alley enjoy it Hank's style, but Joseph and Bobby aren't fans. Bobby and Hank decide to enter an amateur brewing contest, but as competitors, not teammates. Bobby is trying to go for a more hipster taste and approach, while Hank wants a tried and true possum urine tasting beer. Shout out to all the possum urine tasting beers out there. Bill already looks largely different than in the first episode, and Min makes her first appearance in the reboot.
Hey, what are you hillbillies talking about? Drinking beer?
Yeah?
I was joking.
I don't get it.
Shane tells Bobby the restaurant wants to sponsor his beer in the contest to help promote the restaurant. Shane is a massive jerk to Bobby and really does not respect him. Hank and Peggy go to a hipster brewery to sample some beers. They are surely paying $20 a beer. You can tell because the seats at the restaurant aren't actually chairs. Most of the highlights from the first couple episodes are direct pulls from the trailer. Dale and Joseph are both in surveillance of one of the judges for the beer contest, which leads to a pretty funny moment.
Look, let's just cut to the chase. We both know Will Lipner, aka the Kingmaker, and the head beer judge lives here.
Dude, does he?
Joseph's quick escape when they are almost caught is really smooth. Dale should be proud. Luke not being able to understand Boomhauer is a great recurring bit.
Hey, man, if that dang cycle gonna stop right now, man, I would have cut you off.
No idea what you said, but I just wanted to be cool like you, Boomhauer.
Dale and Joseph both having dirt on the judges to help Bobby and Hank is really funny. They both flee the scene though as they see some police officers. Hank feels bad that he didn't complete the mission of spending time with Bobby while pursuing a retirement hobby. Hank and Bobby end up both pulling their beers out of the competition, and the episode ends as they share a beer on the patio and reconcile their differences in taste. This episode was just okay. Not nearly many funny and exciting moments in this one. I do like how Hank is coming to terms with the world changing progressively through each episode. This one's going below The King is Back. Nothing super worthwhile of a high ranking in this one. Bobby Gets Grilled is the next episode in the season. Hank, Peggy, Dale, and Nancy are taking a trip to Bobby's restaurant. Hank intends to check Bobby's propane system, but Bobby uses Japanese coals. Hank loves propane more than he loves Bobby himself, so Bobby's in a bit of a pickle. Bobby doesn't beat around the bush, and he outright tells Hank that he uses charcoal. Bobby has a reasonable explanation, but this doesn't sit well with Hank. I try not to kink shame, but Hank's love for propane goes a bit too far sometimes. The dinner group is going to visit the George Bush Museum before dinner. Coincidentally, Bobby's restaurant is out of their specific brand of charcoal pellets. The only supplier will not distribute to them because they are not Japanese. Bobby has to involve Chain, and he hopes because he is Laotian that they can work with the supplier. This doesn't work because Chain is super immature. He's a really frustrating character. His main personality trait is that he's a nepo baby, which is right in line with his past. He seems to drag down every scene which he is in, which unfortunately up to this point is a lot of them. Hank calling Nancy a good hang is a really funny clip.
I disagree. Nancy is a good hang.
Hank, do you really want to give people the impression you have two beautiful wives?
Dale is going off sprouting propaganda at the museum. And Dale is winning over the tour group because, well, a George Bush museum is just about the most boring thing I can think of. This episode is dealing with a lot of cultural appropriation and stereotypes. Joseph not knowing who his real dad is has created drastic impacts on how he sees himself.
Oh, yeah, I feel ya. I mean, I'm the only white dude on my road crew. Apparently, I can't be Speedy Gonzalez anymore.
Well, that is pretty racist.
Ted, the owner of Bobby's restaurant and Chain's dad, tells Bobby to finally switch over to propane. Thankfully, one of the world's best propane guys just moved in one town over. Bobby is getting culturally appropriated. This might be one of the best clips in the show's entire history.
Are you any relation to Cotton Hill?
I'm his grandson.
He machine gunned my grandfather.
So he was one of the 50 men?
Bobby is contemplating swapping to propane when Emilio, his sous chef, gives him a riveting speech. Bobby decides to prove everyone wrong by showing them the taste of his food made by the charcoal. Bobby is showing he is authentic, not only to himself, but also to the culture that he's representing. Looks like Bobby is serving hot dogs on a stick with a side of rice. The food goes over well, and it turns out to be better than the mac and cheese with hot dogs that I made for dinner. Hank loves it and supports Bobby's use of charcoal, something I didn't know was possible. And this episode has a warm ending, where Hank finally respects and understands Bobby's choices. Not many over-the-top funny moments. The whole museum section was a bit of a snooze fest. I didn't love this episode, but I guess it was better than the last one. Let's put it right beneath Return of the King on the rankings. And I kinda wanna eat some hot dogs with macaroni now. A classic American meal. Episode 4 is titled Chore Money, Chore Problems. We're continuing the ongoing theme of Hank being bored with too much free time on his hands during retirement. Hank is finding that he's already accomplished all the handyman tasks possible around the house. Boomhauer shows Hank a new app called Chore Chimp, which is pretty much just DoorDash for handy men. I mean, like, men that, like, fix things for your house, not handymen. Okay, get your head out of the gutter. Connie finally takes a trip to Bobby's restaurant. I gotta say, her voice actor is nailing it. She sounds perfect. Connie wasn't there for Bobby. She was there to meet her boyfriend, Shane. More Shane, more problems, am I right? Editor put in the badoomts. Boomhauer is laying down some huge real-life advice here.
Oh, man, that's rough, man. But you know, that dang old hustle culture, man, they're gonna rise and grind at every time, man. That's the dang most precious resource, you know what I'm saying?
Hank, my dude, how do you dislike bananas? They are actually one of the only S-tier fruits alongside peaches.
Well, thank you, but I hate bananas. It's monkey food.
Alright, am I the only one who thinks this Chore Chimp app is great? I would actually use it. Most of Boomhauer's clients are Gen Z kids who he gives great life advice to, while Hank does the actual work. That is until Boomhauer gets a concussion on the job site, so Hank takes over as the sole operator of Boomhauer's Chore Chimp account. No surprise, but Bobby is jealous of Connie and Shane. Connie wasn't really vibing well with Shane, but for some reason Bobby gasses up Shane, and Connie gives him a second chance. Bobby, what are you doing? All the Gen Z customers want life advice from Hank, but Hank just really wants to do carpentry. But when Hank doesn't give any advice, Boomhauer's banana ranking drops. I really like the concept of this episode. Bobby and Joseph being roommates is a great storyline to follow, and I think it should be explored more. Joseph convinces Bobby to try to shoot his shot with Connie. Hank goes back to the customers who gave him a poor rating, and actually gives them some life advice. Bobby and Connie are out drinking together and singing karaoke. While their singing sounds like a sea lion giving birth, Bobby is remembering when he and Connie were first together. After the song, Connie tries to introduce Bobby to her roommate and try to hook him up. Hank ends up getting in trouble with Peggy when his oversharing of life advice comes to light. Hank, this is borderline child endangerment. What are you doing?
One day you were resting and Bobby needed his diaper changed, and I'd never done that before. I couldn't get the diaper to fasten, so I used this staple gun to fasten the diaper.
You what?
Hank is starting to feel useless because he isn't satisfied when he isn't working and providing for his family. Peggy admits to largely feeling the same. Connie visits Joseph and Bobby in their apartment, and Bobby and Connie mutually admit that they still want to be friends, and it finally feels like the good old days as the episode fades to black. This episode was really solid. It told a compelling story and had a few good jokes mixed in. It was really nostalgic seeing Connie, Joseph, and Bobby all together again. This episode felt the most like old-fashioned King of the Hill. This one's going at the top of the list. First good entry of the new season, in my opinion. New Ref in Town is the next episode, and this title has me excited. Some of the best King of the Hill episodes are their sports-centered ones. Most of the football episodes are near the top of my personal favorites. New Ref in Town can hopefully live up to this. The guys are mad that Luke is kicking a soccer ball around, and it turns out Hank knows a thing or two about soccer, and apparently he's got some skills that he's been hiding. Dale dives into the theory that Hank has been brainwashed. Boomhauer is volunteer reffing a soccer game until he gets fed up with all the parents, quits, and then Hank takes up his spot so the game can continue. I'm on board with Dale on this one. The real Hank would not know or care about soccer in any way. Bobby, Joseph, and Connie are all hanging out. And after seeing a commercial, Bobby decides he's finally ready to buy a car. It turns out Hank discovered his love for soccer in Saudi Arabia after working at a stadium. He mainly admires the turf, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because football is similar. Hank then gets freaky with Peggy. Who is this man and what did he do with the real Hank Hill? Hank continues reffing and watching soccer. Peggy and Hank keeping this dirty secret is igniting their love. Hank and Peggy keep doing the birds and the bees.
Tell me again about the offsides.
You want to hear it fast or slow?
Bobby goes to buy a new car, and after being confident, he somehow ends up buying a horse? This episode does not make any sense. I feel like I'm watching a bad sitcom here. Dale and Bill are at least keeping true to their characters, surveying Hank and Peggy thinking that they've been brainwashed. John Redcorn under the trusted section on Dale's board is great. Hank ends up getting the call to ref a high school soccer game, apparently one of his lifelong dreams. Dale and Bill abduct him before the game, as they believe that Hank is plotting to abduct the mayor's son. Dale is going to inject Hank with some homemade truth serum to get Hank to admit he's working with the Saudi Arabians.
While you were unconscious, I tried it on Bill to test the dosage. Bill, tell me the truth.
I'm scared. I'm lonely and scared.
Hank confesses to Dale that he's actually a double agent, using soccer and propane as a mask. This feels more in line with Hank taking advantage of Dale's insanity. Boomhauer stepped in for Hank and converted the soccer match to rugby, football, wrestling. And to fix this, Hank ends up just going home. Bobby gives the horse to John Redcorn in the end, and man, this episode was a tough watch. Dale and Bill's subplot provided the only decent moments of this one. Hank is so far off from his own character, I question if this is even the real Hank we are watching. Bobby's B story had absolutely no payoff either. This one's going at the bottom of the list. A very confusing episode. We're going to try to rebound with the next episode, Peggy's Fadeout. I feel like Peggy hasn't quite been captured in the reboot this far. It seems like they're just dialing up her personality traits to 11 and playing off those for her. Peggy is deciding to fully embrace retirement after being rejected from a job. Didn't a few episodes ago Peggy telling Hank to fully embrace retirement? She seems to have done a complete 180 in that regard. Bill is running off to hang out with another group of friends that he made while Hank was gone. And Bobby needs an exterminator, but the only one he can afford is Dale.
But how will you find a dirt cheap exterminator by tomorrow?
You called the right guy.
Man, Dale has some really good one-liners throughout this reboot.
Why does this trap need a camera?
That ain't for the trap. That's for my Patreon.
Joseph catches Chain cheating on Connie, and he sends the evidence to Bobby. The rat is outsmarting Dale, and Dale is going the Always Sunny in Philadelphia mode by releasing a second rat to catch the original rat. Connie reveals to Bobby that her and Chain are in an open relationship, and it turns out Bill actually does have more friends. Wait, Hank said the catchphrase.
Hank Hill, Propane and Propane Accessories, retired. Pleased to meet you all.
Turns out Bill has been telling the guys at the barbershop that Hank lives the life that Bill actually does. Bill even told them that he's married to Peggy, and he has photoshopped pictures of them all throughout the barbershop, including one of Peggy in a bikini. Hank is rightfully mad at Bill, and he's forcing Bill to come clean to his friends. Sticking true to the Always Sunny script, Dale's second rat has turned on him, and he proposes adding a third rat. Hank is upset at Bill's behavior, but Peggy doesn't seem too mad about it. Peggy is more enabling of Bill's behavior. That is until Bill gets too creepy with her. Bobby ends up meeting a girl named Willow when she was going through the restaurant's dumpster looking for grease to sell. Fun fact, but 85% of relationships start in your dumpsters, so if you're looking, don't forget that. To try and get out of his lie, Bill tells everyone that Peggy passed away. Peggy goes over to put a stop to Bill's charades, but she stops in her tracks when she hears Bill's speech gassing her up. Bobby and Willow get freaky, and that happens a lot in this reboot. Connie comes over and happens to meet her. Connie seems a bit shocked and jealous at Bobby and Willow, but she agrees to hang out with them anyway. Connie really has no right to be jealous here. She straight up told Bobby she wasn't interested, even though she's ethically non-monogamous. The episode ends as Dale's 3-rat plan works to solve the rat problem, and this episode was solid. Nothing that really blew me away though. The reboot so far just feels a little bit off, and I can't put my finger on it. This episode did have some funny moments, and seemed to progress the story of Bobby and Connie. Bobby's sous chef Emilio is emerging as a great side character. Bill and Hank's storyline seems like a classic King of the Hill story. This one's going under Return of the King. A solid entry. We hop back into the episode Any Given Hill Day. Bobby's favorite customer has kicked the bucket, and Willow is back in this episode. Seems like she'll be around for a while. Bobby sees a lot of similarities between the customer and his dad, Hank. And Bobby wants to show his dad that he loves him, so he decides to take him to the Dallas Cowboys fantasy camp. Poor Hank roots for the Cowboys just for them to lose in the first round of the playoffs every single year if they even make it. Bobby is bringing Willow over to meet Hank and Peggy.
Well, we better get cleaned up. Bobby wants to bring that new girl over for dinner.
The vegan? Well, what the hell am I supposed to feed her?
Can't we just put some grass in a bowl?
Hank is not accepting of Willow's vegan hippie lifestyle, but maybe if she feeds him like a baby, things will go smoother.
Got it. Here you go, Mr. Hill. The best, right?
Bobby gives Hank his gift, and Hank might actually love Bobby in this moment. That is until Willow surprises everyone by telling him that she's coming along too. Peggy has started a successful neighborhood library to get everyone more unplugged. Alright, the reboot is saved. We got a scene with Hank's tiny little butt. Peggy's book nook is spreading bedbugs to everyone, and this should be considered a war crime with how terrible bedbugs are. Micah Parsons is coaching at the Hills Fantasy Football Camp, and Micah Parsons actually voices himself in the reboot. Shout out to King of the Hill for doing it right. Somehow Bobby has become somewhat athletic and is catching footballs from Hank. Willow is also a superhuman athlete, impressing Hank and winning him over. Hank and Willow dominate the competition, leading Bobby to feel left out. Hank delivers one of the best one-liners in King of the Hill history here.
You couldn't resist one more chance to feel like you went pro, huh?
I did go pro, Bobby. Propane.
Willow ends up breaking into Jerry Jones' office and drops a massive stinker on his desk. Hank and Bobby walk in on it, and I can't imagine the relationship will continue after seeing this from Bobby's viewpoint. Jerry Jones' reaction to this is pretty great when he discovers it later.
Yeah, it happened again.
Honestly, I feel like most people would probably do this to Jerry Jones, so it's not that out of the realm of possibilities. Bobby admits to Hank that he's still in love with Connie, and that he has to break up with Willow. Hank and Bobby finally share a moment together. Dale ends up selling out Peggy for the bedbug infestation. Yeah, burning these books isn't going to fix the bedbug problem. You're going to have to burn all your clothes, sheets, carpets, might as well burn the whole neighborhood down. This episode ends with a touching tribute to Dale's original voice actor, Johnny Hardwick, who tragically passed away while the season was in production. And this was a pretty solid episode. Aside from some major character inconsistencies, like Bobby being able to do anything athletic, I thought this was a good episode. One of the more stronger ones of the reboot. Dale and Peggy's book nook was pretty uninteresting, but the Hank Bobby Willow storyline made up for it. This one's going right below Chore Money, Chore Problems in the number 2 spot of today's ranking. Next, we're diving into the episode Kahn-Scious Uncoupling. Now that I think of it, Kahn hasn't been in the reboot up to this point. This is surprising. He was such a focal point in many of the episodes of King of the Hill. Okay, I see why they haven't had Kahn in the reboot yet. His voice sounds really off.
Ha 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 ha! Missed again, Hank Hill!
Kahn and Min are throwing an anniversary party, and Kahn is using Bobby's restaurant for catering. Nice to see that Hank is as good with the ladies as the rest of us are.
I suppose you're wondering why I am giving you the silent treatment.
Something bothering you?
Peggy is getting mad at Hank for calling her out for stretching the truth while she was boasting to the Supernewson phones. Hank discovers that Kahn and Min are actually divorced, and Kahn has been living in his garage. It's been almost 10 years and Kahn is still sucking up to Chain Masana-san's family to try and get Connie and Chain married. Hank agrees to keep Kahn's divorce a secret to everyone, including Peggy. Man, every time Bobby and Connie interact, it's clear that they're meant for each other. Reminds me of a Jim and Pam romance from The Office, but Jim and Pam weren't really good for each other. Jim should have stuck with Karen. He really fumbled the bag on that one. Hank ends up breaking down and tells the secret to Peggy. Very ironic that Kahn and Min are throwing an anniversary party when they are in fact divorced. Hank and Peggy are trying to keep the secret at the party, but with Min rubbing their marriage in everyone's faces, something is bound to slip. Security having a poster of Bill to not let him in is great.
Mr. Dotrieve, we know who you are.
It's not like that. We were in love.
Connie is getting sick of Chain taking credit for everything. Min and Kahn slam Bobby and Connie's former relationship. I'm on Team Peggy here. Drop the bombshell on them and reveal their secret divorce. Never thought I'd see Hank do the cha-cha slide, but here we are.
I love a dance with clear rules and instructions.
For some reason, Dale was working the audio, and he accidentally broadcast Bobby talking to Connie about her parents' divorce, and the secret is out in the open. The Hills are officially better than the Supernewson phones. Min admits it to everyone, and Hank lets out one of the saddest bois I've ever heard. Connie finally breaks up with Chain for good, and Bobby swoops in to comfort her. I really like this episode. Everyone had a role to play that felt in line with their character. We had some really humorous moments and some major story impact. Unlike past King of the Hill, this season has had an overarching story of Bobby and Connie slowly falling back to each other. Kahn's voice actor sounded nothing like Kahn, which is the only real gripe I had with this episode. I understand that some time has passed, but it doesn't even sound close. I'm putting this episode at the top of the list. Best one of the season so far. The second to last episode of the reboot is the highest rated episode on IMDb. The episode No Hank Left Behind finally brings Hank's little brother, Good Hank, back into the fold. We also see Junichiro, Hank's Japanese brother, and Dee Dee for the first time since the reboot. Hank was dealing with some settlement, and it's clear that Hank wants nothing to do with Good Hank and Dee Dee. Peggy playing pickleball is the perfect retirement activity. I'm surprised that Hank doesn't get super into it. Peggy ends up hurting her knee playing pickleball, and Peggy is feeling down that Bobby is too busy to spend time with her. Good Hank is getting sucked into alpha male online courses, you know, the ones that Moist Critical makes fun of every other week. Peggy's freaking out in the MRI machine, and I tore my ACL in 2021. I can tell you they do not need to stick her head in the MRI machine. Simply flip her body around and put her legs in, please. Peggy ends up staying in Dallas at Bobby and Joseph's apartment, and Peggy and Bobby are finally bonding. Hey, yo, wait, what was that catchphrase?
Oh yeah, you just got pegged.
Huh? Hank and Good Hank are at an alpha male boot camp, getting scammed and being yelled at by an Andrew Tate clone. Hank is not fitting in with the alleged alpha males, and Peggy keeps having panic attacks at the hospital, requiring Bobby to come get her. While holding the balls of truth, all the alpha males in the training camp blame all their problems on women. King of the Hill is portraying the toxic alpha male culture very well. While arguing with Good Hank, Hank finally sees some Cotton Hill in him. Seeing and hearing Cotton after all these years is traumatic for both me and Hank. Hank with another all-time soundbite here.
You'll actually be clapping her friends.
Clapping her what?
Hank finally rings the bell of surrender at the alpha male boot camp and calls Dale in for help. Hank wants dirt dug up on Eli, the alleged alpha male instructor. Bobby helps Peggy get past her panic attacks, and we get another all-time callback.
But notice there's some scar tissue in her groin area, like she was kicked by a 12-year-old some time ago.
Hank reveals that Eli's mom is actually the owner of his alpha male business. Good Hank is finally respecting his mom, so that's a step in the right direction. Hank buys him a fixer-up car, and they plan to work on it together. Good Hank and Hank finally have a mutual understanding. This episode ends with one of my favorite episode endings of all time.
And only hold him for a second. I gotta stay alive so Good Hank doesn't come out as terrible as you did.
Too bad, old man.
This episode was great. Making fun of alpha male culture was really unexpected, but they really did it well. I never thought I would see Hank defeat an Andrew Tate clone, but 2025 is full of surprises. The flashbacks to Cotton are powerful, and Hank vowing to fix Good Hank from all the corruption that Cotton instilled in him is a powerful ending. This episode is our new top of the list, very deserving of the great rating on IMDb, and this season is ending with some absolute bangers. Sadly, we've reached the final episode of King of the Hill Season 14. The episodes keep getting better and better as we progress through the season. It seems that they finally found their footing after all this time. This trend continues with the final episode, A Sounder Investment. It has been 5 whole days since I watched the last episode, so if this ranking feels a bit off, that's why. I went on a family trip and saw some cool animals at the zoo. Here's a picture of a monkey thing. Hank and Peggy are discussing their retirement investments. And John Redcorn is finally selling red corn. I've been saying this for years. John Redcorn should sell red corn. I don't know why John Redcorn does not sell red corn. Wait, what did he just say?
Nancy would love this. Have you given it to her yet?
I've been giving it to Nancy for quite some time.
John Redcorn has an issue with pigs eating his product, and the gang is gonna help him. Hank is canonically a terrible shot, so he'll have to find some alternative solutions. It's nice that they stuck to his character for this one. Too many small nuances about the original show were forgotten in some of these episodes. Dale, Bill, and Boomhauer have taken care of the pig problem, and they're boasting their success to Hank. The guys want to start a pig extermination business, and Boomhauer is trying to get Hank to invest some money, and everyone is on board except for Hank. The business is quickly expanding in contrast to Hank's slow and steady methodology, and in an absolute twist, Hank takes Peggy's investment to the best businessman he knows, Buck Strickland. I, for one, am shocked that Buck Strickland is still alive. Buck Strickland tells Hank not to invest before he goes behind Hank's back and ends up investing. This marks the 1,000th time that Buck has betrayed Hank, yet for some reason Hank still values his opinion. Buck having reserved parking in Hank's garage is a great visual gag. Somehow the 2-week-old business has been purchased by Pig Force, a major pig extermination business, and Nolan Ryan being in this series was not on my bingo card. Peggy asking him to sign a football is iconic.
I have to go to the bathroom.
And honey, while you're in there, I will get Nolan Ryan to sign a football for you.
Hank ends up buying some stock in Pig Force, and if this goes anything like when I buy stocks, the stock price is sure to tank. Peggy ends up saving Hank as she sells the stock right before it does tank. Bobby and Connie in the B-plot have been going on dates again. They can't find anything that they both enjoy doing anymore, and they only really relate through memories they have shared when they were 12. They share a kiss in their final scene of the season. It seems like their new relationship will be more explored in season 15. This episode was really good. Felt like a classic King of the Hill episode while advancing Bobby and Connie's plotlines. The Alley Gang got in way over their heads, and Hank tried to act as a voice of reason. Maybe it's the break between watching episodes, but I thought this one was the best of the season. Top of the list for me. Much like Bobby and Connie, I kept finding myself trying to relate these episodes to the memories I had of the old King of the Hill. Both the show and myself have changed drastically over the years. Some changes to the characters felt really out of line for me. Like, I can't imagine a world where Hank Hill ever cares about soccer. A couple of the voices also felt really off to me. Kahn's in particular sounded really rough, and Dale's takes some getting used to as well. A few of the voices didn't miss a beat though. Connie, Hank, and Buck all sounded spot on. Overall, I think this reboot was a huge success. Any new King of the Hill is good King of the Hill. I most enjoyed the episodes that felt nostalgic. A Sounder Investment was the best episode in my opinion, but the top 6 in my rankings are all worthy of a rewatch. The bottom 4 episodes in the rankings just don't really compare. New Ref in Town was the worst of the bunch, and I hope season 15 picks up right where 14 left off, continuing Bobby and Connie trying to reconnect while following the others in their shenanigans. If you made it this far in the video, make sure to subscribe and like the video. Our Discord link is below. Thanks for watching.